Hi guys, it's Rick over here at Zsphere, the cloud solutions provider for MSPs, and I've got Craig from Abusi here today. We've been having a few conversations about all things managed service provider related, and actually we were, I was really hoping to pick your brains about Skype for Business and telephony, and what's the link and how does it work, because there are so many different conversations that we're hearing about that, and I'm really keen to know, and maybe some of our watchers, some of our viewers are keen to know what MSPs are doing with it and what the potential is. So you've run a managed service provider, you have done for
20 years.
20 years,
man and boy.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of background about your history with, as a business, with telephony and connect and communication, and where it's gone now with Skype. And I know that's something that you've implemented.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, so Abusi's run for 20 years, but probably 10 to 12 years ago, I was a really early adopter of voice over IP services and supplied them to a number of our clients. And the honest truth of it is that the infrastructure was not available or reliable enough to support voice over IP. The principle was brilliant, and we deployed it in a way that was as best as could have been at the time. But 10 years ago, the IP infrastructure, the connectivity, the broadband services just weren't enough. And unfortunately, I had my fingers burnt, and because I'd recommended a voice over IP solution on top of our IT service, there was reputational damage. And so, we lost a client for voice services, but they also went because they didn't think we were very good for IT. So, lesson learned, worked out what we did, moved on from there. In the last 5 years, that landscape has changed, and now the infrastructure is very, very much able to cope with it. And so around 25 or 30% of our IT clients have a voice over IP solution that's installed, recommended and managed by ourselves. And they range from a company with 3 telephone handsets right through to, I think the largest is 25, and that's over 3 sites. And that's the big thing about voice over IP, is it really starts to make sense when you have a geographically distributed company.
Right.
So one of our clients is an estate agent, 3 separate sites, but of course with voice over IP they present as a single coherent business with telephone numbers and so forth. So what's happened in the last few years is actually the convergence has gone even further, and Skype for Business, which was the sort of the illegitimate child of Skype, that no one ever really knew what to do with, which popped up, and you couldn't talk to people on Skype from Skype for Business because there was a firewall between the two of them and it didn't work. So the first thing they did was allow Skype for Business to be a product that you could use to talk to people on normal Skype. So that sort of brought the two together. What's happened in recent months is that there's been an ability for Skype for Business to now be used as a normal telephone system. And there's phraseology like PSTN connects and all that kind of stuff. But look, here's the deal. You open Skype for Business, you log in as you, there's another tab that appears once you pay that subscription service that's got a dial pad on it, and you just dial 07966 blah 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 blah, and you call somebody. And so in reality, what you've got is a telephone system built into Skype for Business.
So you've got a headset plugged into your computer.
Got a headset plugged in, and you can call 01 numbers, 07 numbers. You can just call normal numbers and call people, and they can call you back, and everything's normal. So if you've got one telephone number linked to one person on Skype for Business, it's fine. The number calls your system, and you can call out. Now, using that analogy where there's one of you, you run Skype for Business on your laptop or desktop PC, and you run Skype for Business on your mobile, because there's an app for it. If someone calls into you, it will ring in both locations, so you never miss a call. If you don't take the call and it goes to voicemail, here's where it starts to get quite sexy. You get a notification you've missed a call, and the voicemail is speech recognitioned, if that's the right verb. And you get a text transcript of the voicemail message.
Oh, really? Wow, that's impressive.
Now, here's a really useful facility. If you get I've got a car with CarPlay, or if you use Android Play, plug it into your phone. If you receive that message in an audio form, then of course CarPlay can't play it to you. But if you receive it in a text form, it can read it out to you.
Right.
So that's quite helpful.
Yeah.
So the next step is if there's 5 of you and you want to use the Skype for Business service, then all of you can have a direct dial number, so 5 of you can be contactable from the outside. But you can also have what are called service numbers, which might be your current office number that you can move over to the Skype service. And what you then do is within the control panel is you can say, right, if someone calls this number, do the following. And the following might be ring all of the numbers within the business together, might be ring this one, which is a receptionist, and if that's not answered, ring another 4. It might be ring these simultaneously, or so you can use it as a proper phone system.
That's crazy. And so do you think that soon gone will be the days of, you've got a handset on your desk and you pick up the phone and you physically dial a number? Is that going to disappear anytime soon, do you think?
I think there'll always be a space for that, and I think there'll always be a need for people to have handsets. But look, you can buy Skype for Business compatible handsets.
Right.
So you can actually buy specific handsets which you can put on a desk, but which actually connect to Skype for Business, which then means you've got shared contacts and things. So whatever's in your contact list on your computer for Skype for Business is in your phone handset. It's kind of taking it to another level, but the reality is that's certainly possible. And the big change that's coming with Skype for Business, even all of the positivity I've just spoken about it, is it's about to be merged into Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
So Microsoft Teams is a product available freely within an Office 365 subscription. And the best way to think about it is have you heard of Slack?
Yeah.
So Microsoft Teams is Microsoft Slack. That's what you've got to think about.
Right, okay.
So it's about having conversational channels. It's about having an ability for sort of instant message group chat.
Right.
So all of that within Microsoft Teams. But now what they do is they throw in what will become the legacy Skype for Business product. They throw it into Teams and it becomes a tab on the side, and you now make outbound PSTN calls within Teams. So now imagine that as a collaboration tool, because in a single pane on your machine, you can have internal instant message chat with your colleagues, be they in the same office or outside. You can have channels running where you're discussing certain topics, or you're dropping in video, imagery, documentation, or whatever for people to share. And in the same product, you can dial a number that you've pulled out of your contacts in Outlook and make a call to a customer or a supplier or whatever, all within a single product. So again, think of it like Slack with a telephone system built in.
Sure, yeah. So what's your opinion on scalability for size of business? I mean, is this the kind of solution that is going to be good for a 10-seat business or a 500 employee business? How do you think that's going to work?
I probably wouldn't want to make any commitment on the higher end, because it's just not an area that we work with in terms of our client base. But I would say to people watching this that if they're a traditional IT MSP service provider and their typical client base is between 5 and 20 users, it's going to be absolutely ideal for that. Arguably start at the bottom and work up. But in terms of scalability with it, the only issue you'll have, which has been an issue with all voice over IP services, is bandwidth.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that you've got sufficient bandwidth, because if you've got an internet connection that's heavily used for data, imagine what happens if you then add voice onto that. If the bandwidth diminishes to a point where voice calls become affected, and you get that kind of I'm going in a tunnel on a mobile phone problem, then your client is going to come back to you and go, well, this Skype thing's rubbish. And actually it's about connectivity and about internet speeds and things of that nature. So that's the only area of concern that I would have. But what it does do is it allows you to compete with an ever increasing market where telephone companies have realized that their days are numbered in terms of being able to provide traditional screw to the wall systems and phones on desks. And so telecom companies are now approaching their customers and going, hey, did you know we do a bit of IT support as well?
Right, okay.
Not being disrespectful in any way, but your relatively uneducated customer will just go, well, that would be great. If I could just have one bill for phones and computers from you, brilliant. Us IT guys and girls lose out.
Right.
So actually this allows you to have ammunition to turn it round on the telephone people
so
and go,
you've got that offering
well, yeah, we're an IT company, but now we can look after your phone system.
Yeah. And it kind of like obviously fits as well when you're using something like Skype for Business. It obviously fits into that IT box, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's kind of like switched telephony on its head a little bit, you know. But
I think the other thing that's worth pointing out is that I say this so regularly, it's become a bit tedious, but customers don't care how a service is delivered. So you probably do. The watchers here are thinking, well, you know, whether it's done this way or that way, then it is really important. The customer doesn't care. What they care about is, does their computer work every morning when they come in, right through to the end of the day when they go home?
Yeah.
And can, at any point during the day, they make a call to somebody? Because the making of the call is not important to them. It's the fact they can speak to the person at the other end and make a sale, do some business, engage in some sort of conversation. So if you can offer those services, if you can say to somebody, I can fulfill all of those requirements, a working, reliable infrastructure with email and IT, and the ability to make calls, all for a relatively fixed cost, maybe we'll come on to cost in a minute, surely that's a really interesting offering for people.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm quite interested to understand as well how a managed service provider can monetize this, you know, because I think with your traditional kind of VoIP type setup, you know, you've got like a user account and you've got some hardware and you've got some minute per minute rates and things like that. So, you know, how does that work, you know, through the MSP channel, so to speak?
Well, effectively, these are add-ons to a traditional Office 365 subscription. So if you take an Office 365 subscription like Business Premium, then you add on a few modules and you get this, what's called Skype for Business PSTN Connect. It effectively takes your Office subscription from around the sort of £10 a month to about the sort of £18 a month. So there's a net cost of about £8 a month per user.
Yeah.
Then you can add on a call bundle, which gives you a really high level of call. So effectively each call becomes free because it's all part of the bundle.
Yeah.
So I work on the basis that it's £15 a month per handset in a business.
Right. Okay.
But the level of service that's coming from that, and the flexibility and the sexy features, for want of a better phrase, is really, really good.
Yeah.
And don't forget, for most businesses, there are no additional call costs on that. So your £15 a month is flat fee. And I can speak knowledgeably about telecom provider services because we've had clients that have gone down that route. That's exactly the same price point that many of these clients who are coming from a traditional telephone angle would charge. So when you say to somebody it's £15 a month, that's not expensive. That's the same as a telephone provider would be asking that customer to pay for a more traditional hosted solution. So you're in the right price point, but it's integrated into the IT. Personally, what I would do is have your markup and margin from the licensing you're buying through Microsoft in the traditional way. And what we then do is we charge a voice management fee.
Okay.
Which might be a modest amount of, you know, a couple of pounds per handset, or maybe up to £5 per handset. And what we do for that is we make sure that every aspect of that service is managed by us, in the same way that every aspect of the computer is managed by us, and the customer's quite happy to pay a fee for us to look after their IT. So one would imagine they'd be quite happy to pay a fee to look after their phones, and that can be things like new users, handset changes, you know, changes to hunt groups, the way the call works, voicemail updates, just helping people make that work. You know, there's a small fee to pay, and that's where you can make some more service money.
And I'm assuming that it's quite easy to administer and make those changes as a managed
because it's all online. You know, you don't have to visit a customer. It's all done remotely through. If you log onto your Office 365 portal for that customer, down on the left-hand side at the bottom, you've got the various admin areas, and one of them is a Skype for Business admin area, and that's where you choose who has what direct dial number and how the calls flow through the business. It's all done online, so it's very simple. Allocate numbers. And the big thing that puts people off with telephony is number porting. So a customer will say to you, well, I've already got a telephone number, I want to keep it. Not a problem. You just fill in a form with Microsoft Online. The numbers move over. We have 10 DDI numbers. We moved them over. It took a week. That was all.
Right. Okay.
So we haven't changed our telephone numbers. And we now use this service that I've been talking about.
And just out of interest, like one final question: when you get a customer who's right, let's go for it. Let's use Skype for Business for our connectivity. Do they typically opt for the Skype integrated handset? Or do they just use like through the devices, through the computers? Like what tends to...
The honest answer is, if you present them with the option of having a Skype enabled handset and advise them that they're £150, they very quickly go, oh, I can just use a headset through the computer, can I? Oh, I'll do that.
Right. So yeah.
So how much is that headset? £15. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So it tends to be a price issue.
Sure.
So large professional businesses with people that want handsets, then great.
Yeah.
But you can get cordless headsets. There's so much more variation in the type of headset than there is in the type of handset. You can have the big headsets with the boom microphones.
Sure, yeah.
You can have a little stick in the ear. You can have ones that go around the back of the neck.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just prefer to have the handset.
Sure. That's really interesting. Thanks for that insight, and hope I'm pretty sure that quite a few of our viewers will be interested in taking a closer look at that.
I think it's really important. Most MSPs are struggling to deal with their clients, and the more that you can offer to a customer of yours, the stickier they become.
Of course.
And that's the honest truth of it, is that once you provide more if you double the amount of service, you make it twice as hard for the customer to look elsewhere for that service.
Sure.
And that's not trying to sort of unduly keep them within your client base, but it's just being honest and saying, well, we do so much for you that if you were to leave, it would be a challenge both for us and for you. So why not offer them? You've got desktop support, you can do voice over IT support, you're probably doing Wi-Fi, things of that nature. The more you offer makes them more embedded into your client base.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming in, Craig.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks
everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.
Thanks.
That was really interesting.